So that's the point. If we understand that reason, then apply the power of the mind, and we can keep much more our youthful nature. And so it is our mind and our consciousness acting under various influences, inherited tendencies, type of life you lead, type of environment, attitude, and will and resistance. It is that which governs how your mind reacts toward age. These various things play an important part. And attitude, I think, coupled by will and resistance, is the greatest thing. Because if you have within yourselves a cheerful mood, a cheerful, buoyant mood, and you will have it for one reason, one of the greatest reasons is that you will feel the presence of God in everything you do. If you have that, you are bound to show the reaction to that attitude in your body. Oh, a little gray hair doesn't make any difference, you know. Sometimes that's inherited. But how do you feel inside? How is your soul consciousness? Is it youthful and healthy and buoyant and cheerful, even though you do have a few hundred aches and pains? You can do it, but you can only do it when you feel the presence of God within you. And then it reacts through your mind. And in spite of all those troubles, you can have the signs of youth. In fact, you can be youthful and healthy. How to stay young. And so, remember, the law of mind is that it reacts on the body. If you have a cheerful mind, and especially if you have conscious communion with God, it will react on your body, without question. We will come to that later, about the causes of correcting these different things which prevent our having a youthful body and appearing young. Now, one of the references I'd like to give you at this time from our Master's autobiography: the power expressed by a man's bodily instrument depends on his aggressive will and courage. The body is literally manufactured and sustained by the mind, or the consciousness of God in us. How from one cell and its union can this whole thing come? Because God's consciousness is behind all things. And the power that does that is your own cosmic energy. When you operate it under certain conditions, it's called the mind. But nevertheless, isn't it God's consciousness and his power in that consciousness? And so that's what happens. Through pressure of instincts from past lives, those are the inherited tendencies of which I spoke, strengths or weaknesses percolate gradually into human consciousness. They express as habits, which will in turn manifest as a desirable or an undesirable body. Outward frailty has a mental origin. Outward frailty has a mental origin, which in turn manifests the corresponding body. It is a vicious circle. The habit-bound body thwarts the mind. How can you have a strong mind if your body is all shot to pieces, so to speak? It can be done, but it's difficult. It's much easier to find God and have a strong mind if the body is fairly healthy. And so it is a vicious circle. The habit-bound body thwarts the mind. If the master allows himself to be commanded by the servant, if you allow yourself to be commanded by the body, within certain limits, the latter becomes autocratic. The mind is similarly enslaved by submitting to bodily dictation. There is a little matter which I'd like to bring up at this time about the different cells of the body. There are two kinds of cells, the germ cells and the somatic cells. The germ cells are those cells which keep the human race going, so to speak. They pass from one generation to another, from one body to another. Those cells are active. Naturally, they're very vital. Now, the other cells, which are germ cells, they have made up the different organs of the body, the tissues, bones, internal organs, and such things. These are called somatic cells. Now, these cells follow a different pattern, and sometimes, especially if the mind is not active and strong, they become fixed, and they lay down, so to speak, on the job. That's why age comes upon us. Now, if you can reactivate the somatic cells of the body, which you can, especially by the techniques of self-realization fellowship, yoga, if you can reactivate those cells, they will once more take up their function, and age will not come upon you except in its natural way. It is a good thing to remember that we can control those somatic cells within us, those cells which make up the formation of our body, and they are under control of the mind, plus God's consciousness within it. Now going on a little further, mind can do anything. Mind can do anything. And when I say mind, do not think I mean the ordinary mind that keeps us in such a turmoil all the time. Not that mind. We might call it the higher mind, a mind in which the consciousness of God is very active. That can do anything. And it improves with usage.